Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden. We're going to head up towards Gothenburg once again, Göteborg as you would say in Swedish, and we're going to revisit one of the very well respected Swedish breweries. You've seen me review a good number of beers from these guys before, and I think this one will be a little bit special. So for this one then we are going to go to OO Brewing once again, and we're having a look at the Anniversary Baltic Porter, which is an Imperial Porter coming in at 10% ABV, and this beer was apparently brewed to celebrate the release of the anniversary of the release of the first commercial beers, which came back in 2014. So this beer was released as part of the Tillfälligt assortment on the 27th of March 2020 through Systembolaget here in Sweden, and hopefully it turns out to be very nice. I mean, they released that Baltic Porter recently called Porter, which I thought was very good. I reviewed that for you here on the channel, and the other beer I had from them recently was the Pivot Pills, but more recently they've been focusing on the 100 series and the 50/50 series, and apparently we're going to get a new one of those every month through the local and Småskaligt assortment actually here, which is great because for a long time those beers were only available through the likes of Glassbanken, and if you went over to Copenhagen and ordered from like Kiosk and places like that too. But in terms of higher alcohol beers, you know, I've had the Long Boil Barley Wine and the Arctos Imperial Stout, which are annual releases from these guys, and those have turned out to be very nice, so hopefully this is a pretty special beer. But OO Brewing, they have a very good pedigree of course, and it's always interesting to try different things from them, so hopefully this turns out to be a very nice beer. And if you're interested in Swedish beer and you haven't tried some of the OO beers, definitely check out Narangi. That is probably their kind of quintessential, their sort of iconic beer if you like. The Narangi IPA is one of the sort of cult classic Swedish craft beers in my opinion, so yeah, check that one out. But yeah, definitely cool to return to these guys for one of their special beers, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one as well. So let's see how we get on. So as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from OO Brewing before. No doubt there will be some more at some point in the near future. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about OO Brewing then, on to my brewery notes. So as I've told you before, OO Brewing are based in Gothenburg in Sweden, and they were founded back in 2011 by Olaf and Ole Andersson, who are not related but they are childhood friends, and for many years they were also avid home brewers. But the pair have always been interested in beers, and Ole was apparently heavily involved in the Gothenburg beer scene since pre-drinking age, and he was the original brewer at Stigbergets Brewery, who of course are known for the you know, the GBG Beer Week beer, the Amazing Haze and things like this, one of the iconic Swedish craft breweries, and this is where the original OO beers were originally produced. So while Ole is brewing, Olaf manages the business side of the brewery, but he also works in Copenhagen at a marketing agency, and apparently they just make beer that they would enjoy drinking themselves. But in April of 2017, instead of OO Brewing being a sort of side project, Ole left Stigbergets Brewery and fully invested his time at OO, and the company invested in their own facility in Hisingen near the Tingstedt Bridge in Gothenburg, and they equipped it with a 2,000 litre brewing system, and this means that they can brew up to 500,000 litres of beer per year. In the first year of operation they brewed 100,000 litres, and they've basically been expanding that up over the last couple of years to meet capacity, and I don't know if they will expand it beyond that, but they probably will of course, because these guys are pretty popular. But as of March 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, according to Untappd, they've produced around 60 different kinds of beer. But as I say, a very talented brewer behind this brewery, and one that you definitely need to check out if you are interested in the Swedish beers. I mean, the Mussels was always one of my favourite ones, and the Evergreen, those are two very good sort of West Coast style IPAs. I'm not sure if those are still available, but I remember really liking those beers. I need to review the Ekta Pills for you at some point. I've reviewed the Pivot Pills recently, which was a very nice lager beer, and also the Porter. But these guys are known mainly for the 100 series, the single hop series, and also the 50/50, which is the double hopping series actually. And you will see me review those. You'll see one of those pretty much every month over the next year on the channel, because they are releasing new things through the local and småskaligt assortment in Systembolaget. They've changed the rules for Systembolaget, so it's a lot easier for the local and small breweries to get their beers out there and into the market, which is great actually. So yeah, long may that continue. But as I said, one of the iconic Swedish craft breweries, these guys doing some very, very nice stuff in my experience. So yeah, that's all you really need to know about OO Brewing for the moment. If you want to learn more, of course, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and of course you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all the different types of beers that they've done. They do have a sort of unofficial tap room, if you like. You'll find that at the Bar Kino, the Hagabion's Cafe, the cinema on Linagatan in the city. That's also the home of Stigbergets Brewery. They've got their own bar up in Stockholm now, but of course, because of the relationship between Olaf and Ole, Stigbergets and OO have a very kind of close working relationship actually. So yeah, go and check out Bar Kino and the Hagabion's Cafe, and you will come across some of the original OO Brewing beers actually. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this one then. So I'll just let you have a little look at the paper artwork on this one before we open up. As you can see, quite nicely presented. There is the little bit about OO Brewing on the back. I think I paid 60 crowns for this beer. So for an Imperial Porter, that's about £5, about €6, something like that, which I think for a 10%er is actually pretty decent. That's one of the good things about Systembolaget. You do get some very good beers for very good prices actually, and you know, that's one thing I've never been able to fault Systembolaget on. They do tend to pick very good beers for the small partiers, the tillfällig assortments, and you know, some of the local stuff that you get here as well really is top notch. So for the price, that's one of the great things about Systembolaget. It was for a long time. Some of the rules were very difficult, but in terms of price, you really can't knock them in terms of that. 60 crowns for this is really bloody good actually, because they don't make profit. They just basically break even. I think they probably do make a tiny little bit of profit to, you know, for reserves and things like that, but you know, non-profit. But yeah, let's get the paper off this guy and see what we have inside. So yeah, actually, look at this. This is nice. This is kind of similar to what you'll get from the long boil barley wine, and the this is the similar artwork to what you get for the long boil barley wine and the Arctos Imperial Stout. There you can see the anniversary Baltic Porter 2020. Like I said to you at the start of the video, this one was apparently brewed to celebrate the release of their first commercial beers. So this was one of the things actually. I thought it said here, I'm sure I told you at the start of the video this was a 10% one, and I'm sure it actually said on the website that it was 10%. But yeah, here it actually says it's 11.3% this one. So this must be one of the heaviest Baltic Porters that I've had. So I apologise for telling you lies earlier. This beer is 11.3% alcohol. So this is definitely one of the heaviest Imperial Porters that I've had. So that'll be nice. But look at the paper on this. Look at the inside of the paper. I do like that. OO Brewing. I might need to wrap this up again, clean the bottle out and keep it. That would be quite cool. But yeah, we'll put the paper over here for the moment, and we'll get this guy out and on with the tasting. You can see as well, they've got their own bottle caps now, which is pretty cool. Oh, I do like that. That's very nice actually. So hopefully that's something that stays. But they don't release too many beers in bottles, of course. Most of them tend to be in the cans these days. But yeah, an 11.3% Imperial Baltic Porter, this one. So without further ado, let's get it out and we'll get on with the tasting then. As I said, they're a beer brewed to celebrate the 6th anniversary of the release of their first commercial beers. The two of them, I think it was I'm sure it said it was one of the 50/50 beers, the Amarillo and Simcoe, maybe? 50/50 Amarillo Simcoe, and the other one was a Baltic Porter. And I think that's why they decided to brew a Baltic Porter for this anniversary beer. So yeah, the 6th anniversary of the release of their first commercial beers back in 2014. So yeah, they were saying on the post as well that they usually have a sort of party at the Hagabion's Cafe, Bar Kino, But I think because of the coronavirus, unfortunately, that's off. So this beer was already planned to come out through the small partiers till fairly assortment in Systembolaget. Like I said, we got this one on the 27th of March 2020. So yeah, so as you can see with this beer, it's poured a lovely dark sort of ebony rosewood colour. If I shine the light through this, it does have a little bit of a kind of Coca-Cola coloured edge to it. There's a solid, there was a solid quarter finger of a frothy, I would say medium beige kind of head on this one. That's faded away just to be a very thin foamy layer, and if I put that straight up to you, you can see, if I can't really tip it, but yeah, the head has just faded away to be a very kind of thin foamy layer. But I mean, it looks very, very nice, I have to say. Nothing overly surprising about this beer when you consider what style it is. So yeah, as I said, I'm really wondering where I got the idea that this beer was 10%, because it's 11.3, but let's have a look at the aroma and see how we go on. I can tell you just from sugling the beer around a little bit, it does have a lovely, lovely aroma to it. Oh yeah, straight away with this one, it comes across as very, very smooth. You can definitely pick up a little bit of that roasty black malt in there, and it's got a lot of that kind of, you know, toasty, burned chocolate kind of aroma to it. It's got that sort of dark, high cocoa kind of quality, but at the same time, it's got a little bit of that kind of carafa malt type sweetness to it. You've got a little bit of a kind of bread crusty, well-fired bread crusty note coming out of this beer. There is a wee bit of a sweet kind of caramelly, toasty brown sugar to this one as well. There is just something about the aroma of this that's telling me that it's carafa malt. Carafa malt is produced by Weirmann. I think it was developed by Weirmann down in Bamberg, and it's got this very distinctive, just roast, kind of toasty, bread crusty, but also like German rye bread type quality to it, and I'm picking up a lot of that in this. So it really, this beer has a really kind of high brown bready, rye bready type quality. Some yeah, so it's got some, it really has some, it's got some lovely kind of well-fired toasty chocolate notes in there, a little bit of black malt, as I said, some of the carafa qualities and brown bread on top of that, and there is a wee bit of a sort of sweet caramel. When I was further away from it, it did almost smell a little bit lactosey. There is a wee bit of a kind of lactosey thing to this. Maybe there's a wee hint of a kind of tobacco type quality to this beer as well. There is a little bit of that coming out in this one. So yeah, I really like how this goes together. This one has a really nice aroma. In terms of the hoppy side of things, there's a wee bit of earthiness to it. You can obviously pick up a little bit of grassiness. Porters are not generally the most hoppy kind of beers, but you can get some lovely fruity notes out of them. Normally, I think it's usually Bramling's Cross that are a very popular choice of hop for these, but you can use American things as well. You've got Northern Brewer from Germany, which is quite popular to use in Doppelbock. Those are the hops that you would use mainly for kind of red fruity notes. Williamette from America, and I think Summit is sometimes used as well. But in terms of the hoppiness, there's a little bit of earthiness there, some lighter grassiness, and in terms of the fruitiness, you've got a wee bit of a figgy note, a little bit of a blackcurranty blackberry type quality to this one, and yeah, I do like how that goes together. You can smell a little bit of the booziness in this at 11.3%. It is, of course, a little bit of a monster, but the aroma in this beer, I think, comes across generally. It comes across as very smooth. It leans towards the sweet end of the things, but a lot of the kind of darker notes are a bit more subtle in my mind. But you've got some lovely juicy fruits, not too big and juicy, if that makes sense. The blackcurrant blackberries and the kind of figgy notes in there are all quite subtle, and there's a wee bit of a hoppy note in there. It did say on the side that you could, it said that you could age this beer. It says it's best before the 24th of March 2030. So, you know, if you really wanted to, you could age this beer for 10 years. But, you know, I wanted to try it. I mean, I'm not overly into aging beers. I like trying them and seeing what they're all about. But, you know, I always say I'm going to buy another one and age it and see, but I never do, to be honest. I just like trying them. So let's have a taste of this one then and see how we get on. This one is the Anniversary Baltic Porter, coming in at 11.3%, brewed to celebrate the release of the first commercial beers from OO Brewing, which happened back in 2014, released in Systembolaget on the 27th of March 2020, and 11.3% Imperial Baltic Porter. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål. Yeah, that's really nice. You know, one of the things I've always felt about OO Brewing is that their beers just come across, they're so full of flavour, but at the same time they're very drinkable and very balanced. And you know, to be quite honest with you, whatever style you're going to get from OO Brewing, whatever style Ole Anderson is going to brew for you, it's going to be good. I mean, I've had Scotch ales. I had a Scotch ale, I forget what that was called, but it was supposed to be aged 4 years or something like that. I mean, I had a Scotch ale from Stig Berget's brewery when Ole was brewing there, and it was beautiful. The Arctos Imperial Stout, the long boil barley wine, some of these IPAs that they do. OO Brewing, Ole is just a very, very well-rounded brewer. You know, I'd love to see these guys trying like Doppelbocks, and it'd be cool to see them have a go at like quadruples and triples and things like that. You know, I always talk about Eskilstuna Ölkultur. And the thing that I love about them is that they try brewing lots and lots of different styles. It's OO Brewing, you know, they try a few different styles, but I'd really love to see them try and brew, you know, like an Imperial Red, a Rauch beer, a Doppelbock. You know, these guys, whenever they try like an Imperial Porter and stuff like this, it always turns out really, really nicely. So I'd love to see them diversify even a little bit more. But those styles, of course, aren't very popular. It's the IPAs and stuff and the Imperial Stouts that everybody wants to drink. You know, this one, even as an Imperial Porter, is a bit different. But I will say, this is a beautiful, beautiful beer. But it's not surprising how good this is, because if you know the brewery, you know what Ole is capable of. So thumbs up to these guys once again. So yeah, in terms of comparing this to other Imperial Porters and stuff, it's very, very smooth, and it's a nice big oily take on the style. The Porter, of course, is a lot lighter in terms of its mouthfeel than the Imperial Stout, and that's due to it being the type of yeast that they've used. I mean, the Porter is essentially the English equivalent of the German Schwarzbier or the Czech Tmavy. It's basically a light, drinkable black beer. Whereas the stout is a lot heavier and things usually. But this beer, it's, if you compare it to a sort of 8-ish% stout, it's kind of along the same consistency as that. I don't drink too many porters. I do enjoy them if they're done well, but I don't get the chance to review all that many of them, in fairness. But this one drinks like a sort of, you know, 8-9% American style stout. It's really got that sort of vibe to it. But it's a really lovely example. For 11.3%, this one is stupidly drinkable, should we say. It's a bit dangerous actually, a very nice dessert beer. But let's try and break the flavour of this one down a little bit then and describe it for you. So yeah, in terms of the porter style, it leans for me towards the sweet side of things. It dries out a little bit further into the aftertaste, but you've got a lovely kind of smoothness to the malt base. You can feel a little bit of the kind of toasty black malt there. That comes out further into the aftertaste, but on top of that you get some lovely kind of carafa type qualities in there. You can really feel that just blanketing the middle of your palate. There's some lovely kind of smooth brown bready qualities in there as well. I'm wondering if this does have a little bit of lactose or something, because it's very, very smooth, this beer. I like it how it's got the finish on it as well, si salta. Never noticed that before, but yeah. It doesn't say that it's got lactose in it actually, but there's something very, very smooth about this beer. Could be dextrose or something else, I don't know, but there's a real there's a really lovely smoothness to this beer actually. So it's almost like you've got a kind of smooth woodiness just blanket in the middle of your tongue. On top of that you get some of the black malts and the kind of smoothness of the carafa. You can feel a little bit of a kind of brown bready quality in this one as well, but as you come further forward on the palate you do get, there's almost just a teeny little bit of a vanilla type quality to this one, but it's not really a sweet vanilla, it's just a very kind of subtle thing. If you go into the centre of the palate you get some lovely kind of chocolatey qualities to this, and I would say it's about a sort of 60-70-ish% cocoa chocolate. Not quite milky, but not fully dark in terms of its flavour, if you like. Yeah, the chocolatey flavours in this are really quite well balanced between that milky, dark sort of type of the spectrum. In the centre of the palate you do get a little bit of a brown sugar. The brown sugar is not quite as prominent as the aroma might make you believe, but yeah, it does have a wee bit of a brown sugary quality in the middle of the palate, a little bit kind of roasty and toasty as well, which is quite nice. I really like the stuff in the middle of the palate there. So it's lovely how that goes together. Yeah, I like that about this one. Just the way the brown sugars and the chocolates kind of interact in this is very, very nice. It doesn't. This one, to me, I find this quite a woody tasting porter. Sometimes you can get a little bit like tobacco and leather and things out of these, but I find this one quite woody, and the way that the chocolate and brown sugary flavours interact in this is really quite nice. It's very layered, so you've got woodiness, then you've got a bit of the black malt, you've got the brown bread sitting on top of that. Then you've got a bit of the kind of chocolatey qualities. Then in the very centre of the palate you've got a little bit of the brown sugar. It's almost like a kind of cone, if you like. It's just things building on top of each other. So wood, black malt, and then a little bit of the kind of carafa brown bread, a little bit of the chocolate, and then on the very top you've got a wee bit of the kind of toasty brown sugary notes. I really like the sort of way that this beer builds up, if you like. It's very nicely done. Yeah, this is really good. As I say, big thumbs up to OO Brewing on this one for 11.3%. This is stupidly drinkable as well, actually. In terms of the hoppy side of things, it's difficult to say actually whether what kind of hops this beer has. The hoppiness in this beer is really nice and smooth. In the back corners of the palate it's a little bit earthy, but as you come further forward along the sides of the tongue it gradually gets a little bit more kind of floral. You can feel that. I don't know, there's something that makes me want to say it's English hops, because the earthiness is a little bit darker, but then you've got a wee bit of a herbal quality, so there's something that makes me want to say it's Bramling's Cross, but I wouldn't be surprised if there is an American hop in here as well, or maybe a little bit of Northern Brewer from Germany too, because the grassiness that you get out of this, when you reach the front corners of the palate, the grassiness around the front curve of the palate and the way the floral notes come out is a little bit more German and bright, in my opinion. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a wee bit of a Bramling's Cross in here as well. I like playing Guess the Hops with these beers. The Bramling's Cross and the Northern Brewer, I think, are very underrated hops in terms of what they do with dark beers, but that's one of the things I really like about this beer. And then behind the front curve of the palate, that's where you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters start to push their way out of the beer. So let's focus on that now. Let's focus on the fruity side of things here. So yeah, when you first take this beer in, it really has quite a lovely juiciness to it. It's not quite plummy, but it's got a good kind of juicy figgy note, kind of blackberries. It's got that kind of thing to it. And when you take it in, it's not quite sharp, but lovely and rich and juicy. And then as you go further into the aftertaste, it smoothens out a little bit and it starts to lean more towards the figgy side of things. And you can feel that going across the very kind of front, that oily part of your tongue where the fruity esters come out at the very front of the palate. And you really get a bit more of a kind of figgy quality there, and then as you go further and further into the aftertaste, on the very tip of your tongue you've got a little bit of a blackcurranty, blackberry type thing there as well. So it's quite difficult to say exactly what hops are in this, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's a combination of Bramling's Cross and Northern Brewer. There are American options there, but I'm really not sure. I think this one might be more classically hopped out. There's something that tells me it's Northern Brewer, just because of the way the grassiness and the floral notes are. I might be talking absolute rubbish right enough, but I always enjoy this aspect to the beer reviews and playing a little bit of Guess the Hops with these beers. I love some of the characters and things that you can pick out from malts and hops. That's one of the reasons I really enjoy doing these videos. But the main message to take away from this one is that it's a very, very nice Imperial porter. For me, it leans towards the smooth and slightly sweet end of the spectrum. I really like how this one goes together, so this gets a massive thumbs up from me. I would probably pardon me, go as far as saying this is one of the better, stronger beers that I've had from OO Brewing, and I would include some of the Stigbergets ones in that because I know that Ole brewed them. This might be the best strong alcohol beer that I've had that Ole's brewed so far. So if you get the chance to try this one, definitely have a go at it, pick it up and see Steinbelag. It's only like 60 crowns or something, so it's definitely worth doing. In terms of the mouthfeel then, you know, it's a pretty full-bodied beer. I don't think there's much doubt about that. Obviously as a porter though, it's lighter than some of the Imperial stouts you're going to get. The carbonation in this one is very smooth. The mouthfeel overall is very smooth. You've got a nice kind of oily, you really have a nice oily character to this one. I think that it's fair. It's not lactosey, but it does give you the impression of it has some of that lactosey smoothness to it, this beer. So very smooth, but also quite an oily mouthfeel to this one, but at the same time it does maintain that sort of lightness that you would expect of a porter. In terms of hoppy bitterness and things like that, this one, it must be about 50 or 60 IBUs. I mean, it must be something like that because of the roastiness of the malts and stuff, but it's not going to blow the head off you in terms of bitterness. So yeah, it's really got a nice roasty and toastiness to it, but some of the sweetness and smoothness you get out of this beer balances it out very well. The malt base, like I said, it's very, very smooth, but you've got a degree of sweetness to it and also a bit of toastiness. It's really well balanced. I like the layers that this one has, as I said. And you've got some lovely, juicy, fruity characters in there as well. It's a little bit juicy and kind of sharp in the beginning, but it's a little bit more oily the further you go into the aftertaste as well. But overall, a very, very nice beer, this one, and I'm glad that I was able to review this. I really like how this one turned out, so big thumbs up to OO Brewing for this one. This is one of the best beers I've had, I think, released under the OO name, and you know that's I don't take that lightly because Muscles and Evergreen are very, very good West Coast IPAs. You know, the amazing, I was going to say not the amazing, the Narangi rather, is a very, very good beer as well. And the 50/50 and 100 series beers that they have are pretty damn solid too. But in terms of stronger beers, I think this is the stronger and darker beers. This is definitely one of the best that I've had from them. And when they're brewing beer for an occasion, you do expect them to produce something special, and they have delivered in this case, so you can't fault them for that. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. A lovely big Imperial Porter at 11.3%. This thing is a bit dangerously drinkable, so keep that in mind when you try this one. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from OO Brewing as well. You will see more beers from the 50/50 and 100 series over the next while. I'll see what else they're releasing too, but this is a brewery that I always enjoy reviewing things from, and I would really, really recommend that you try this one. This is one of the better one of the best. I'd say generally this is one of the best beers that I've had from OO, and it probably is the best dark and high alcohol beer that I've had from them. So yeah, check it out while you get the chance. At 60 crowns, you really can't knock this one at all, but dangerously drinkable at 11.3%. So thank you for watching my reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this one in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from OO Brewing, and let me know some other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. There's so many things in Sweden these days, it's difficult to keep up with, but I've really enjoyed this one. I hope you guys have enjoyed my take on it, and I will catch you guys very soon. This one was the Anniversary Baltic Porter 2020, coming in at 11.3% from OO Brewing in Gothenburg on the Swedish west coast, and it was pretty damn awesome. Slange, skull, take it easy, cheers.